You know, sometimes a retread of a familiar route can be refreshing. It rekindles your interest and are reminded of prior enjoyment you once had. Thus, the tribute is made, which leads me nicely onto H2A Multiplayer, a greatest hits compilation. That's about it really, there's not much to say, so let's get started. Released 10 years after the original, a side mode of 9 or so fan favourite maps are blissfully remade, with a few new additions to keep them fresh. And I must say this looks better than real life. The very colour palette and lighting effects really bring them to life. Remaining exactly the same in layout for the most part, it adds a unique spin within its nostalgic package, designed as a love letter to Halo 2's legendary multiplayer. There's plenty of game modes to keep you invested for a long time, some classics along with all new ones, from the crazy to the simple. My favourite is probably Boom Ball, basically oddball but everyone has a brute shot with unlimited ammo. Another highlight has to be Ricochet, basically Griffball but without gravity hammers. It's one of the few objective modes I can actually do. Besides this, the Forge for me was a step up from before. It was basic enough to handle but refined enough to be creative without limitation. It's appreciated that there's a good few maps that are just empty spaces, something Halo 4 didn't really have. But it does leave a lot to be desired. As I mentioned earlier, there's only 9 maps and more often than not it's just the same 3 ones in the rotation, so most of them just gather dust. A shame really, as the better ones seem to get played less. Coming after Halo 4, the player customization is basically non-existent. There's only 3 armor pieces for each body part, which seemed like a huge step back in honesty, and you could just say that it's not a particularly unique experience, which I'd agree with. It was built upon Halo 4's engine, so it was very similar to the feel of that's multiplayer. The only real difference is you can't sprint or use armor abilities. If I had to offer up some advice on H2A multiplayer, it'd be, you may as well. It's fun and refreshing to see classic maps remade, and remade well, I might add. It's a good chance to experience Halo 2 but differently, which sometimes is all you really want. You could legitimately get away with saying it's just a glorified DLC, but I'm glad they never released it as a standalone, because in honesty I'd have skipped it if they did. But since it comes as part of the MCC anyway, you have nothing to lose. But I suppose if you're going into it expecting a classic experience, then you're going to be pretty disappointed. Well, I think that about covers it. Signing off.